Saudi, just like any other high context culture, is extremely opaque, and there's so much in the silence as compared to the words. So you have to have this innate ability to read the room. You don't have to feel that you have to own the room. You have to be present in the room. So that means you need to see who's who in the room, how do they interact, how does that room organogram works, like who's the leader, who's the advocate, who is everybody, who is someone who everybody respects but may not have a say in the decision.
Before we start the show, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe or follow button. Your support is what fuels this podcast and provides the impetus to grow the show. It helps us book guests to tell their wild and funny career stories and also provide insight into the future of their industry. And here's the magic part. For every new subscriber we get, a unicorn is born somewhere in Australia, which means in the not too distant future, Netflix will be live streaming a unicorn versus kangaroo boxing match. If you want to see such a spectacle, please hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, please go ahead and rate this podcast too. I'm not saying you should rate it 5 stars, but I am saying the number of stars you give this podcast should reflect the number of days in the work week. And now, on to the show. Welcome to The Career Circus, the story night podcast that uncovers crazy career stories. The stories that you tell your friends over drinks that are just too wild, too funny, or too awkward to keep to yourself. This podcast is where we bring these stories to life. Each week, we are joined by esteemed guests, champions from the realms of politics, commerce, governance, sports, and media, who are bold enough to recount their most unbelievable feats and fumbles. From surprising stumbles to hilarious misunderstandings, we venture forth to explore the lighter, stranger side of one's professional quest. So get ready to be shocked and tickled, because this is where career paths get truly entertaining. And today, we're joined by financier and entrepreneur Abbas Hashmi. Abbas operates at the intersection of private wealth and geographic mobility as a financial advisor to royal families and ultra-high net worth individuals globally. He also leads the program on family enterprise and wealth at Columbia University. He previously held leadership roles at Goldman Sachs and AIG and is currently principal at Saudi Family Holdings, a single-family office based in New York and Riyadh. He's also one of the handful of people on this planet who has worked in Mumbai, Delhi, Lahore, and Karachi. And he joins us now from New York City. Abbas, thank you very much for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
You're one of the few people who's worked in New Delhi and Mumbai and Karachi and Lahore. What was that like? And when you were doing that, did you find that people were like, wait, you're in Mumbai, but you're from Karachi? Because you probably really stood out because no one's really doing that.
I remember the first time I was in Mumbai, and back then, those were the early days of mobile roaming. So I told my parents not to call me on and off, but they continued calling me, obviously racking up a huge bill. But that's apart. When I was in Mumbai, I was literally as if I was either in a museum or in a circus. People will just stop talking the moment they learn that I am from Pakistan. They'll come in, they'll meet me, they'll take me out for dinner. I remember never paying for my lunch or dinner ever in India. And that just left a beautiful memory. I made a lot of good friends that I'm still connected with. And then on the other side of the story, I invited my colleagues to Lahore and Karachi when I was working in Karachi and Lahore. And they were just stunned by the hospitality on both sides of the border. So it's just incredible and heartwarming to see both sides caring for each other so much and trying to prove a point that we really care for you.
I think there's a couple of levels to that story. So one is in South Asian culture, hospitality is very important. But there's another element to it, which is for political reasons, these two countries have been at each other's throats for 70 plus years. However, it feels like the people in Mumbai, in Karachi, in Lahore want to kind of disprove the hostility, which doesn't serve them. And so they're going above and beyond. So when you're in Mumbai, they're going above, we have a Pakistani amongst us. We got to go above and beyond to show we're good hosts. And the same is applying in Karachi and Lahore.
Absolutely. I recall a story when I landed in India for the first time at the immigration. I was super scared. Obviously, I flew in using PIA, and the air crew was so nervous. They were extremely confused as to what to do next. But anyways, I went to the immigration counter, and lo and behold, the gentleman was super warm, super kind, and not only he processed my immigration, but also walked with me, got me a taxi cab, spoke to the taxi cab guy that you're not going to take any undue money, like anything over and above the fare, and was so kind and gentle, gave me a cell phone number in case if I need anything. So stories like that just really make me think that why do we have to do all of this when we are super interconnected? One, like on the differences side, I realized that people are way more passionate for their food. So when I was in Mumbai, everybody was talking about their type of biryani. They wanted to know as to how we make biryani on the other side of the border, and then this side of the border, and it's like, you know what? We've heard that they don't put zira or anything on top of their white rice. They just eat their white rice just the way they are. And I said, well, that's not true. I mean, it depends on different cities and different location and cuisine. But it's just that food connects, cricket connects, and then obviously Bollywood is such a humongous success on both sides of the border. And on our side, I don't want to endorse, but Coca-Cola is doing a phenomenal job from Pakistan exporting all the lively and amazing music to India. So had great time in India and cannot wait to go back.
So because of this unique experience, right, you've had these great experiences in these cities. Where would you say you had the most fun between those four cities, Lahore, Karachi, Mumbai, and Delhi?
Well, I would say I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia, so spent most of my early childhood in the Middle East. But then my dad moved to Pakistan. He used to work for Caterpillar, and his job made him move to Karachi. That's where I went to high school. I did my MBA. So obviously I had way more connection to that part of the world due to just friendships that I've created. But then right after graduation, I moved out of Pakistan and moved to Dubai and then India. And that's where I really built out those intensive, I would say, project-based relationship that turned into friendships. So I am indifferent. I don't know which one is more closer to me. One thing that has happened living in Dubai and Saudi Arabia later on in my life, I've sort of collated those two different streams of relationships into one. So I have friends who are friends with my Indian friends and Indian friends who are friends on this side of the border as well. So I'm more of a bridge between the two, I wouldn't say cultures, but two different countries.
Yeah, that's a unique talent because I don't think many people can straddle the border as well as you can. In addition, you mentioned that you were based in Karachi for a while and that you've flown PIA. From your PIA experiences, how many times did you get an I survived sticker when you landed?
That's a good one. Well, I can tell you the good things. A lot of people obviously talk about PIA or Indian Airlines and sorts when it comes to scheduling challenges, when it comes to service, when it comes to equipment. But I can tell you one thing, the food in those airlines is just an integral part of travel. When I travel here in the U.S., I just don't understand why would I be given a bag of small, tiny little cookies or chips and Diet Coke when I can get like full meal service with a trolley and they'll give you samosas, they'll give you cake, they'll give you tea, coffee, full service in economy class. So from that perspective, I mean, I pick PIA or Air India any day of the week when it comes to food and hospitality. But when it comes to equipment, and then, yes, I survived badge, that's a question mark that remains in my mind. But you know what? When you're in that part of the world, I mean, you cannot not choose those airlines. That's the only option for domestic travel.
Yeah. And to build on that, the hospitality aspect, I would say it extends beyond South Asia. And to your point, it is very different in the US. I remember flying to Hawaii from Dallas. It's an 8-hour flight domestic, technically, even though you're going overseas on American Airlines. This is a while back. And we got a bag of peanuts over 8 hours versus when I was flying from Hong Kong to Phuket. And I know it's technically international, but 3.5 hours, like you said, full service. So a lot of it is a cultural difference that separates Asian from Western airlines.
Yes. Now, I still get that question when I travel domestically in India or in Pakistan, and if it's a full service airline like PIA or Air India. they're serving, and I say, no, I don't want anything. I want water. And then they insist. They say, why not? I mean, you should try this. This is so good. This is fresh. And it's just, you cannot get the same thing here in the US or in Europe now, unfortunately. But you're right. Hospitality is an integral part of that travel experience.
Yeah, and I've found European airlines have not what they used to be. But let's not go down that rabbit hole, because I want to ask a bit more about your work with some ultra-high net worth individuals. Now, not asking you to name names, but I imagine because you work with these high-profile, high net worth individuals, there may have been some unusual requests that have come your way where you thought, wait, what, really? Anything like that you can touch upon?
Well, a number of times I was asked to provide internship to their next gen, and that's something that is a constant. And in that case, I will connect them with opportunities within my network. So that's a constant, yes. Then the second thing is, hey, my kids are coming in. Is there a possibility you can pick them up? And for an American, it's a wild, wild request. Like, why would I leave my house and pick someone else's kids or someone else's family up? But it's a very normal thing. I still remember my dad dropping me off in Karachi or in Dubai whenever he was there at the airport, and then taking a bus back home because he was not driving. So it's just that part of culture where people come to receive you. They come to drop you. And that's something that I keep getting in from a lot of Middle Eastern family offices. When the kids are coming to New York, guess who they call? Uncle Abbas.
Do you still find that? Because New York is like, it's just a get up and go culture, right? It, like, no one's coming to save you. I found that a bit funny as well when I was living in New York, that people would come to visit me, they'd expect me to pick them up from JFK. I'm like, buddy, I don't have a car. So get in the Uber like everybody else. I'll see you at the flat. So you're still finding people are asking for those things?
Absolutely. People do say that, like, listen, give me your number, give me your contact details. Is that okay if you can just be outside and just visit them, or just receive them and then put them in a cab? They haven't traveled before. So it still happens, especially when they're sending their next gen is like between 18 to like 30 years of age. And for me, 30 years of age, I was traveling the world, but for a lot of families, that still is a very fragile age. And that I find sometimes super funny.
I get it, though, because if you land at JFK and you have to take the A train into Manhattan or the E train, and after taking the air train, like, it's not, you'd probably hop straight back on the plane and go back to Saudi.
I know. I mean, if you're not well-versed, then you can just stay at the Jamaica station for 3 years.
Well, that's if you last 3 years, right? You're more likely to last 30 minutes before you get mugged.
That's true.
Jamaica's an experience, not the country, the part of Queens.
The part of Queens.
You work a lot with Saudi, and so we see these mega projects, Neom, The Line, they're really splashy, attention-grabbing. I'm not involved in these projects, but outside looking in, they look a bit too fanciful. And part of me thinks they might not see the light of day, at least as currently promised. Is that your assessment? Are you allowed to talk about these projects?
So I look at those projects from a marketing lens, just like countries bid for World Cup. Or they go for Olympics. Things like that bring you on the map. Saudi, when they started off with Vision 2030, that was the whole idea. They wanted to diversify away from the oil economy and get into tourism, exhibition, and research and hospitality. And there was no other way to do something as big as they have done other than creating these mega projects. Now, these mega projects used to be giga projects. So you may have heard billions of dollars being poured into it. But now they have been, I would say, scale back movement, whether it is Line, whether it is Neom. And that's just a reflection of the market. I mean, it happens everywhere in the world. People start bigger projects and they retract from that. I mean, in New York, we have this big Ferris wheel. I mean, the New York Eye has been going up for ages. It hasn't come up yet. So things get adjusted based on economy and expectations. I foresee Line and Neom to continue being what they are, including the Red Sea project, but they may not be as big as it was initially thought about.
But that still gets the goal of the Saudis across, right? So if they're still making a splash with headlines and marketing, we can have the Line, we can have Neom, and you can still scale it back, and you can still have something, but you still grabbed attention for however long they had the big grand plan. You work with prominent folks in Saudi. The Saudi royal family, like many royal families, is deliberately opaque, very understandable.
Mm-hmm.
How have you had to navigate that space? Have there ever been moments where, because of egos or cultural differences or anything like that, that you're dealing with requests coming your way when you thought, wait, this cannot be my life?
Saudi, just like any other high context culture, is extremely opaque, and there's so much in the silence as compared to the words. So you have to have this innate ability to read the room. You don't have to feel that you have to own the room. You have to be present in the room. So that means you need to see who's who in the room. How do they interact? How does that room organogram works? Like, who's the leader, who's the advocate, who is everybody, who's someone who everybody respects but may not have a say in the decision making, right? So a lot of people, in order to impress pretty quickly and close the sale right away, they get into the room, they get into the pitch, and they want to make the decision right away, or at least get a cue right off the bat. And Saudi culture, just like any other high context cultures, don't work like that. I mean, I suggest fundraisers specifically, and because that's my space, and wealth management, I usually tell them, listen, when you get in a room, think about this is meeting number 1 out of 3 meetings. So take that meeting as a discovery meeting, second meeting, relationship building, and then bringing in some context. And the third meeting is where you talk about the deal. As compared to New York, where it's smile and dial, everybody thinks pursuit of happiness is the way to go. I'm talking about Will Smith's movie. I have nothing against pursuit of happiness, by the way. That's the core agenda, but that's not how Saudi works. They can sense, smell desperation, and it's simple because, I mean, when people don't have governance, or people don't have standards, or people don't have frameworks to understand what is what, they use their experience, whatever have been taught to them, whatever they have seen in movies, read in the books, what their elders tell them about people, personalities, and products. So if you want to facilitate them in order to make a decision in your favor, then you need to give some time.
With that said, have you ever seen somebody not quite get Saudi culture and not have the patience to build those relationships, and something's gone sideways pretty quickly?
All the time. I remember my office used to be in the same building where there was a very famous Middle Eastern wealth fund had their offices in. And literally every day I'll see American and European bankers come in the morning, super happy, all dressed up, go to the meeting. In the afternoon, I'll see them at a cafe nearby, super happy, high-fiving each other. And I was like super surprised. And I was like, why are they so happy? Like, how much money is this sovereign wealth fund dishing out? And only to my surprise, I'll find out that they're happy because somebody offered them coffee with cake and cookies, and they thought, this is it. That's about it. Because they fed me, because they're so happy, and the CEO walked in and said hello to me, that means it's a done deal. And my suggestion is, I mean, this is culture. This is hospitality. I mean, when you travel to Asia, Middle East, South Asia, I mean, they're looking at you as a tourist, as a visitor who has taken time out of your daily life, flew in 14 hours or 18 hours, hopefully in a business class, and now waiting to meet me in my office. And I don't have to leave my office to go anywhere. So that's plain courtesy, hospitality, that they feed you, they ask about your family, they get really personally involved. But on a funny note, and I have seen family offices and ultra high net worth individuals complain to me that you remember you connected me with a friend of yours. He was in the region in Dubai, but he never came to see me. And I was like, wow, that is interesting. How did you know about that? And he said, well, he put up a picture on Facebook or on social media, on LinkedIn, shaking hand with another family. I mean, I'm not against that family, but they should have said hello to me. And that just comes down to the same point that not everything is transactional. I mean, I get it. I mean, you made a pitch on your last trip. This trip, it's a tight agenda, but just pick up a phone and call. I mean, it's like you're in Karachi or you're in London and you have your aunt there, right? I mean, wouldn't you just like pick up the phone and say, hey, aunt, I'm here. It's pretty busy, but I just wanted to say hello to you. I'm in town. Hopefully next time when I'm in town, I would love to come over and have coffee with you. That's about it. It's just plain courtesy, but people don't understand that. And that's okay. I mean, in New York, you won't do that, but in that part of the world, that's considered rude.
And to what extent is that considered rude versus it being driven by the fact that there's this kind of competition between Saudi and Doha and Dubai and Abu Dhabi?
Good point. I may not go deeper in this, but yes, there is a healthy competition, just like you have amongst cousins, and part of it do play that particular role when it comes to expectations. So if you're in Saudi and you're meeting with people, and then on next trip you don't come to Saudi, you go to Dubai or you go to Qatar, and then you meet with people and you put up pictures. I mean, they expect that you will call them and tell them that, hey, I'm in the region. This time I couldn't come to Dubai. This time I couldn't come to Saudi, or the other way around. But it's just that healthy competition that they want you to be aligned more with them than anybody else. And a good diplomatic salesperson or capital raiser can manage that really well. And I think my training growing up in a big family, especially joint family system, really helps because in South Asia, that's just a norm. And you have to manage expectations from your aunts to uncles to your cousins to even your neighbor.
Yeah, I have a conspiracy theory about that, which is the South Asian elders are in cahoots with therapists because the way South Asian family dynamics work is that you end up in therapy.
Yes, that is true. That is true. There's no right or wrong. The life happens in gray, and that's what Middle East is all about. I mean, it's never right, never wrong, never yes, never no, which brings me to another interesting observation that I get quite often from private equity funds in the US and Europe. They send email, but they never receive a response. And that silence, it's not a message. I mean, you're trying to find message in everything in US or in Europe. For them, it's a communication. So you said hello to somebody and they will say hello back to you. But if you say, this is a product that I'm selling, I mean, they don't have to acknowledge that you're selling this. I mean, they know that you're selling it. They got your email. They're going to go over that document. And then they will either call you, meet you, and give their feedback to you, or connect you with somebody who can help you. But they're not necessarily going to write you an email and say, acknowledged, or your email is received. Thank you so much. I'll get back to you by Wednesday at 3 p.m. The world doesn't work like that in majority of the family businesses. It is upon you that you will show up. Like there are times, I've numerous times, my family can tell you, numerous times where I will create work for myself to be in that neighborhood. So I will tell people that, hey, I have a friend's party that I have to attend in Dubai. Is that okay if you guys can meet me as well? I will be in town from this date to this date, right? I have no party. I am not coming for an event. I am only coming to see these people. But just creating that event on the side and then making them feel important, that's how I have done. So there's less pressure on them. Another thing that I've realized I can dish out tips all day long. Another thing that I've learned is rather than asking people to invest or buy your product, you ask for referrals. So you skip Ali completely and you say, hey, do you know someone? And you paint the persona of your ideal buyer and then help them find that buyer. And then only after 3 referrals, they realize that, hey, wait a minute, I can be a good persona for this particular product. Why is he skipping me? I have money. I am also looking for a wealth management solution, or I'm also looking for allocation in real estate. So it's just, these are the indirect ways that you can navigate and still have those relationships intact.
Completely fascinating. When you go through this referral channel that you're describing, are you expected to give a commission to any successful referral, or is that not baked into the expectations?
I love these questions. So it's human psychology, and I read about it a lot. We want to give opinion. I mean, we're dying to give opinion, right? So we use that as your friend and ask for referral, ask for opinion. Say, do you know this particular product will be successful in this market? What can I do to make improvements so that it becomes more of a desired product or an opportunity? So ask these questions and say, hey, listen, do you know anyone in your friend circle? That person should be from this age to that age, successful businessman like you. So you literally paint the picture of that person, but for someone else, and then let them help you. I have seen this work really well with a not-for-profit and philanthropy. Like look at Lions Club and Rotary Club and all of that. They create these local ambassadors or champions and presidents, right, who take a lot of pride in introducing you to their network and then work for you and contribute towards the cause. I do the same thing. I mean, I create advisory councils, I create ambassadors, I create friends who will then go host dinners along with me, invite their friends, I'll invite my friends. So it's a network effect. The moment you start treating your friends and your network as clients, that's where you see the dissonance, because they're looking at you as a friend. They haven't looked at you as somebody who's going to sell something to them, because they don't want conflict. So don't get me wrong. People are not looking for buying product and then just going away. They're also caring for you. Like, what if the product doesn't work? What if the investment doesn't work? They don't want to lose you as a friend. So in that case, it is much better to create that distance and ask for a referral as compared to asking them to invest with you.
We'll have more from this interview right after this quick break. OpenAI is paying around $400,000 per year for someone to work on storytelling and communications, because they know in a world awash in AI-generated content, authentic storytelling is needed to cut through the noise and convert hearts and minds. Don't take my word for it. Listen to investor and entrepreneur Keith Richman, who posted about this on LinkedIn. According to Keith, what matters is the ability to connect with people through narrative. AI can generate infinite amounts of content, but cannot create genuine human connection. It can mimic tone and style, but cannot share real experiences or build an authentic community. The better AI gets at producing content, the more valuable human perspective becomes. Now, you may not have $400K to invest in comms if you're an executive trying to position yourself as a thought leader, or an athlete trying to reinvent yourself for a post-playing career, or a startup trying to gain investment. But you don't need that kind of budget. What you need is Story Night, an independent strategic comms firm that applies the talents of award-winning Hollywood writers to your communications and marketing. Story Night will help you leverage talent that has written for hit shows on Netflix, Disney+, NBC, CBS, and more, to write your newsletters, speeches, memoirs, decks, and more. To learn more, visit the Story Night website at story-night.com. And now, back to the show. You've worked a lot in Saudi with the royal family, with high net worth individuals, as we said. What's that like? What's the best part of that? Do they pay you in beluga caviar and bullion? Do you get towels made from truffles? There must be some really cool perks that come with working with the Saudis.
Oh, well, when you work with ultra high net worth individuals anywhere, they're not paying you for the time that you're spending with them, which is a common perception, 9 to 5 jobs or 9 to 11 jobs if you're in New York or in London. They're not paying you for those hours. They're paying you for solution and solve. So there will be days when I'll show up in the morning at 7 in the morning, right? And I'll be done at 11, like 11 a.m. I'm done. I have nothing else to do. I'll read up, I'll study, I'll interview the family members, go out with them for their meetings as well. But I'm not needed. But when I'm needed, that really matters. Those 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or that one response that they ask you, and you have to be on point. So that means they're paying for that particular one response and not for the entire month that you have worked for them. So that mindset has to change. You have to be continuously on your toes, but that doesn't mean that you're actually actively working. You're lifting boxes or you're carrying their suitcases and all of that. So it's the intellectual solve that they're looking for.
Right. But if we move away from the intellectual, the grunt work, are there any unusual perks? Because I would think at a minimum, you're getting front row seats to WWE in Saudi Arabia. Anything like that you've been able to benefit from?
So working with one of my clients were from Qatar's royal family, and without naming the particular pillar of the family, I was able to meet with, I don't know, like literally everyone that I should have known back then. Later on, I realized who they were. Like I've met with Akon, Usher, Shakira, all of those big celebrities who were being targeted at that time to perform at Qatar's Soccer World Cup. And for me, it was a definite perk, just literally going from backstage, meeting with all these entertainers and celebrities and just having a conversation as if you're a part of their inner circle. So that was a big, cool perk. In terms of price or salary, I mean, it all comes down to what value do you bring. A lot of people think just because someone has a lot of money, they don't have benchmarks. I mean, they do have benchmarks. They have other employees working for them, or for their family. Plus, when you have access to this kind of capital and opportunities, you have access to advice as well. So they have attorneys, they have wealth planners who they can reach out to and check. Plus, in today's day and age, majority of these ultra high net worth individuals send their next gen to your usual business schools or your usual schools everywhere in the world. They have regular friends who they can reach out to. I mean, I have seen friends who are living in a different country, but they're flown in for the birthday. And those friends were just incredible because they don't feel uncomfortable amongst this kind of wealth. They're just like meeting with their friend. So you have to have that kind of upbringing and character to withstand that kind of limelight and not expect anything from that relationship also. A lot of people, when they become friends with these rich people, they want some sort of transaction to happen. And friendship is just beyond that.
Right. And what was that like for you? Because, the level of wealth that you're exposed to when you're working with the Saudis is kind of maybe detached from the level of wealth that most people see when they're growing up. So when you were first exposed to that level of wealth, how did that phase you? How did you navigate that space?
That's a very good question. So when I look at family businesses or ultra high net worth individuals, I look at it from a family perspective. How are they interacting with their next gen, their children, their family members? And from there, I start building up a picture as to how do I solve a particular problem. Nobody wakes up in the morning. I'll give you an example to your question. Nobody wakes up in the morning, whether they have $10 billion or $1 million or $50,000 in their bank account. They don't wake up thinking about, I have this money, what do I do with it, right? People wake up in the morning and they say, I have a daughter, she's going to college, I don't know what else I can do to make that journey easier for her. I have a son who's getting married. I have a special kid. I don't know what to do for him or her in the next 5 to 10 years. So these are the challenges that people have. On a bright side, people have challenges like, hey, I want to retire. I want to write a book. I want to act. I want to maybe play cricket or buy a soccer team. Like, how can I get out of this operational business or from my family politics and focus more on things that I really like to do? So these are the questions that they have in their mind. So when I sit with them and discuss these things at a human level, you realize that these are the challenges that are present in my life as well, in everybody's life. You think about your children. In terms of grievances, I think literally every teenager has this grievance that, hey, my parents don't listen to me, or they feel invisible. It has nothing to do with the wealth. It has to do with the relationship that you have with your children. I mean, you have on one side, you have a father who's working 3 jobs, and you have a father who is a ruler or is a minister and not present in the household. Same challenges, right? It's a different type of money and economic impact, but same challenges. The son or the daughter or the younger brother or younger sister feel invisible. So that's something that I have appreciated. And beyond money, these are the things that surprise me still.
Yeah. I love that answer because it's so easy to think, oh, well, they got money, they've got no problems. Money solves a lot of problems, but it absolutely doesn't solve everything. Money can't solve cancer. It can help, but it can't solve it.
Top 2 things that keep coming up in my Columbia Business School and also talking to these ultra high net worth individuals. Number 1, your next gen feel invisible. When they sit on a table, they want that their parents or patriarch or wealth manager or wealth creator appreciates. Second thing, they feel that the process around them is not very transparent. It's deliberately kept vague. And that keeps coming up in conversations. And that's where they need to have a conversation with their parents or the wealth creator, and that's where I come in as a facilitator.
On that note, are you ever exposed through that role to kind of the palace intrigue and power sharing, power distribution within Saudi royal family or any kind of within the upper echelons of a society that you're serving?
Not from a royal or palace perspective, but there's always going to be competition between family members, especially when you're sitting on a table and you went to London, you did your own education, but you have a cousin who's also stellar in studies. I mean, she or he went to the top law school, for example. All of a sudden, they become more important in that family council meeting, for example. So if you're buying something, but I went to a program which is more aligned with biology, for example, or with humanities, right? Something else. But then there is a cousin who went to a law school and worked at Goldman Sachs, for example, in merger and acquisitions, right? And that happens a lot. And all of a sudden that becomes a problem within the family. That why are you looking at her? Why are you asking their opinion? I'm your son, I'm your daughter, I'm your cousin. Like all of those things become a challenge, but never to the extent that it is out of control. And if it is, I mean, everybody knows in the world, but successfully as of now, I haven't seen a challenge in that case. I've been in the room with different cousins, but I've seen one thing is consistent. That particular culture, if you talk about Saudi culture, it's all about respect for the elders. And if you have someone who is the eldest, like the grandfather or grandmother, the moment they say silence, it's just silence. And the moment they say this is going to happen, that's the final authority. You can have resentment. I have resentment in my family as well when I was growing up. But looking back, I think I'm glad that I was within a structure where there was a final authority who can decide what's best for everybody, not just for me.
Yeah, I find that relatable as somebody of South Asian descent as well. And I love that you mentioned cousins because I think that is a cultural distinction between East and West because, let's be real, in Europe and the US, no one's talking about cousins.
Yes. Well, we grow up competing with our cousins. I mean, they are your biggest nemesis. Like your cousin, like if he's doing great, you're in trouble. If he's doing not so good, you're still in trouble because then you have to go and talk to him and figure out what's happening in his or her life, right? So, I mean, you're very intertwined.
Yeah, very much so. Very relatable. Now, you mentioned your work at Columbia University. How have you found that? And was your work influenced or disrupted in any way by the big protests that took place at Columbia around April 2024?
Not yet. I haven't seen that come to my class. My class is primarily very diverse and very international. So I have family businesses, family offices that are multi-generational. So they join in from Saudi Arabia to Japan to Korea to Australia to Vancouver. And so the class makeup is such that everybody appreciates everyone's unique perspective. At the same time, they get surprised. I hear people oohs and wows when they hear that, hey, Mexican family businesses are facing the same challenges as someone in Africa or somewhere in Japan. So at that level, majority of the challenges are more human and more relatable. So I think that's a great reminder that at the end of the day, we all battle the same challenges. It's just that how you react towards that makes a difference.
Have you seen any challenges with folks in your class who don't know how to spell Colombia? They spell it like the South American country. Or do all students know how to spell the university correctly?
Well, I will take full ownership. I was one of those people when I moved to US. I didn't know. I completely, multiple times I put Columbia in a Google search engine and said Columbia Business School or Columbia education, and it took me to Bogota or other places. So I've learned that, but I'm pretty sure there'll be a lot of people who does this mistake still.
Yeah, I made that mistake until my sister went to Columbia University. Not the country, university. And that's when I learned the distinction between the two. As you think about the entire arc of your career, not just the current role you have as with the Saudi family office, but your previous roles at AIG, Goldman, the time you spent in India and Pakistan, what would you say is the moral of the story that spans the arc of your career?
Well, money's not everything. It's the relationship that matters. You can talk about numbers, you can talk about IRR, but if you don't know the person, I mean, you're not selling. And I'll give you an example. multiple times. And this is a research that was conducted by one of the big banks very recently. Multiple times when financial advisors are teaching or advising their clients are nodding and they're saying, yeah, I know what IRR is. I know what ROI is. I know what risk is. They have no clue. And they just don't want to appear dumb in front of you, because if somebody has made billions or millions in say, data center, and you're selling them pharmaceutical project, I mean, is out of their comfort zone, but they cannot say, I don't know, right? So it's just a pretend play that they're doing so that you can get off their case right away. So understanding where they're coming from, what their financial literacy is, and I'm talking from the fundraising perspective, how much they know about what you're selling or what you're offering as a solution, that is important. But that comes much later once you have known them, their challenges, their issues, their family dynamics. So my moral of the story is spend time in learning your relationships, whether those are personal or they're professional, and build on that. Don't consider humans as a transaction. Don't meet with somebody and think, hey, this is a lead in my CRM. This is a human relationship. That's a household. That household can open up so many different doors, not only professionally, but personally as well. I've learned so much from my clients. I mean, I was usually the youngest wealth manager or private banker in my team. And I was meeting with people with decades of experience, and they will sit with me and then I'll ask them these questions and then just like walk away without selling anything. And one time I still realized, and he's a really good friend based out of Bahrain, he asked me, he said, you come to me and you ask these questions about family values and family business and transition and all of that, but you never sell anything. I know that you work for ABC Bank or you work for this particular institution. Like, I'm really interested in learning more about the product. And that was the time that I talk about, hey, this is the product. This is good for you. This is not good for you. This is my suggestion. We have to build that connection. People need to feel seen, heard, and they have to have the biggest concern people has is not that they're going to lose the money. The biggest problem that they have is when they need you, you won't be fine. That's the biggest threat that they have. This is the biggest question they have. If I need him on Thanksgiving evening, if I need him on a Christmas Eve because my cousin asked me this question or my brother asked me this question, I mean, who should I call at that time? Will he pick up the call or will he respond back to my text message about a particular question?
I love that because for a few reasons. So firstly, like, networking is about giving, and because we live in a world where AI seems to be taking over so many things, and in that world, human connection becomes even more important. And I would say that human connection has already been reduced by smartphones, by social media, before AI is even in the conversation. We're seeing record levels of loneliness, record levels of depression amongst young people. And so with the advent of AI, it could get worse. And that's why I feel like what you've just shared is kind of, it will always be true. It was true 10 years ago. It'll be true 10, 100 years from now. And with that considered, with that relationship advice, with the threats from AI, and we live in a world of economic uncertainty, geopolitical realignment, if you had to describe or tell the story of what your industry would look like 5 years from now, what would that story be?
Back in the days, the access to private markets, for example, was only limited to institutional investors, Goldman's of the world, Morgan Stanley's, your big brand names that were taking care of, say, real estate funds and investing and all of that. But social media has changed. So let's talk about the social media revolution, and then we'll come to the AI. Has changed the access challenge. So someone who's sitting in Namibia, for example, South Africa, has same amount of access as compared to someone who's living in New York and working for Goldman, for example, right? So that kind of access has democratized the access to wealth creating opportunities, whether it is real estate, whether it is crypto, whether it is any other kind of opportunity that was only limited to a certain group of people, whether those were ultra high net worth or institutional. So that's one thing that I'm seeing happening. In the next 5 years, I see that will sort of transcend down a little bit more. It will go down to Henry's, the high earners, not rich yet. And those guys will start coming up as well with their investment strategy and will start investing early on because of the financial literacy. So that's a great thing because it builds out a momentum for the economy. The third thing that I'm seeing is women are getting more and more involved in wealth creation. It's disappointing to see that wealth management in my industry specifically is so underrepresented when it comes to women, and no surprises. Almost 70% or more women fire their financial advisors and advisors of any sort once they get divorced or their spouses die, right? And that just makes you realize that they feel invisible. They feel unheard. So I feel that this is going to change a lot in the next, say, 5 years. And when it comes to AI is never going to replace humans. And it's a cliche, but AI is going to make things more efficient. I know a lot of people don't like targeted ads. I love targeted ads. I love cookies. I love all kind of cookies, like the real baked cookies, and I like cookies in my machine. Why? Because it shows me things that I'm searching. Like if I want a black t-shirt, I want the ad for black t-shirt. I don't want an ad for garden mower, right? I don't need an ad for dog food. So if it's making things more intelligent, I see my industry will become a little bit more prescriptive in the years to come, where if I need real estate investing, the system will know what type of real estate will appeal to me. And then based on my decision, whether I make a pass or make an investment, based on that, next opportunity will get even more refiner, more targeted, more tailored for my needs. So curation will become a little bit more norm as compared to an exception at all levels of wealth and all levels of product.
That's a really great insight. But if we pull on that thread, does that mean if I am an individual investor living in Cape Town and my curated prospective portfolio aligns very well with a Saudi royal family, for example, does that mean that I could find myself investing alongside that royal family in the future?
There are platforms right now, and I don't want to name them. There are very few apps as well out there that literally mimics politicians or big investors in the world, and then you can then copy or mimic those. So yes, there is a possibility where people will start creating funds that will say, you know what, this is a Justin Bieber strategy, or this is a Madonna strategy. I'm sorry for being so dated with pop stars, but that is coming. And yes, you can replicate those portfolio allocations in the future. It all comes down to, at the end of the day, there are three aspects of technology. One is like what is the product, what problem you're solving. Then second thing is, how are you solving it, technology stack and all of that. And then is there a market out there for something like that? I feel all three things will continue to evolve, especially the last part. Is there a market out there? People are getting educated. And as I said, if I watch someone invest in crypto, half the population of Bitcoin investors really don't know what they're investing in. They're investing because their cousin has invested. I keep coming back to cousins. They're investing because their neighbors are investing, their family members are investing, but they have no clue as to what Bitcoin or crypto strategy is. So that's going to change. People will get more literate about products. People will get more attuned to what's happening in the world, and they will become part of big movements. So this is a movement that is pro multifamily Class A real estate. This is a group that supports that, and all the wisdom for multifamily real estate is in this. This is a group for, logistics. This is a group for healthcare. So that will continue to grow. We're getting more connected. At the same time, we're getting more cohesive as well. We're creating these smaller groups and pods of interest.
Brilliant. I love it. Well, we talked about connection. We talked about cohesion. We talked about cousins and culture and Colombia. We've covered a lot. Abbas, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've learned a lot. And I would like to also say that you exemplify the investing relationships. Anytime we've chatted, it's always been a real pleasure and very energizing. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. I'm an introvert. At the end of the day, I want all the introverts to feel comfortable when they're talking to clients. Just being an introvert doesn't make you not fit for sales or capital raising or fundraising. So these are the things that has helped me. And I'm glad that because of you and this program, I'll be able to share it with so many different startup founders and fundraisers in the world. But thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Career Circus. To get a breakdown of what made Abbas's story so gripping, check out Storynight's newsletter, Deconstructing the Saga, at storynight.substack.com. On the next episode, we'll hear from entrepreneur and executive Jatin Modi. Jatin is the founder and CEO of Renaissance, a B2B strategy, branding and marketing firm that partners with global businesses to enhance their market presence. Tune in to hear stories from a career spanning 3 continents, how he weaves historical analogies into his LinkedIn posts, and exactly what an Indian guy educated at Stanford is doing in Lithuania. The episode drops next week. Until then, goodbye.